Hi friends, Lita here. I wanted to take a few minutes of your time to share with you some of the encouraging stories and things that have been shared with us through this difficult season of our lives that we have not experienced before in our lifetimes. And I wanted to give some of these stories to you so that you might grin or smile or have a warm feeling in your heart, and also update you a little bit on what's happening in our Coons Lake Church family. I sent out an email earlier in the week and asked for happy news from you, as Pastor Norm had shared with me a video from YouTube of an actor who has started his own news channel called Some Good News, and he uses the initials SGN for that, and he reports on happy stories. So we have taken that idea and gone with NBN as No Bad News. And I wanted to tell you some of these things. One of the first things that has warmed my heart is that Landon Dial, Pastor Norm and Tara's son, did the sign for us this morning. He's 5 years old and he is doing very well in school. And that is part of our story, as many of you have read and heard online or talked with family members, is that people who have children still in school are having to do that from home now in something they call e-learning. And it can be trying, it can be taxing, but it can also be fun. And I wanted to show you a picture of Landon as he's doing some lettering. I want you to take notice of his little lips there as he is really concentrating, obviously, on printing his name. And when he did this, Tara shared with us that he asked her if this was work he was to do that had been assigned by his teacher. And she said, no, this is something I wanted you to work on. And he told her he was pretty sure that she would be in big trouble because she wasn't supposed to do that. He was only supposed to do work that came from his teacher. So I want you all to remember that. And in keeping with the happy news, I sent out the email asking for good news from your homes, and Claire Kellums was the first to respond to my email, and I want to thank you, Claire. She shared with me that she and her husband, Josh, and their boys, Jasper and Julian, have been really enjoying family time together playing board games. And they don't just play the four of them, they play virtually with family and friends. So they can do that together, they can still visit and laugh, and I think that's a terrific idea. And some of our students that we have here in the church family wanted to remain nameless, and so I will respect that. And one of our high school girls had asked her mother over the weekend if they could do a jigsaw puzzle together. And I thought that was really sweet because that isn't something most of us take time to do anymore like we used to when I was growing up. And this is a special time for families to slow down and to be at home together and find fun ways to fill the time and talk and share together. And speaking of jigsaw puzzles, I wanted to share the picture of Seth Hoppy with their son Caleb. Their family with Andrea and Carson, the twins, have been doing a jigsaw puzzle in their home, and I thought that was a great picture of them. And Andrea and Seth also have taken the time to go for rides with the children, and I always think it's great to go for a ride when the sun is shining. And they loaded up the boys in the car, and as you can see, they are in their pajamas, and I think that's great because that is the official, I think, costume of the pandemic days, because I've heard many people stay in their pajamas all day, but I'm not naming names other than the twins. And they went to see their great-grandparents. They see them through the window, they wave, they maybe can even hear each other through the window. So there they are with Andrea's grandmother, and here they are. They drove over to Andrea's sister's house so that they could say hi to their little cousin. And I know that he really enjoyed seeing his aunt, uncle, and cousins. So I love those pictures, and I think it's a great way to spend time. When I wanted to go back and mention the jigsaw puzzles again, because as we've been discussing that a little bit, we found out there's a big challenge here on finding out which is the proper way to do a puzzle. Because we heard that some people are very fond of working on the outside frame of a puzzle first and then filling it in. but there are others who feel that you should start in the middle and work towards the outside. So that's something that maybe we'll touch on later on another segment. So I also heard from a mother of a senior high school son as she was in another room, and she could hear him washing his hands as he was singing happy birthday out loud, so that he was sure to wash his hands the appropriate amount of time during the time of the pandemic, because we've heard that that is about the length you should at least wash your hands. One of our students was homeschooled when she was going through high school, and then she went on to college. And she's had a great beginning of the year this year and had made a lot of new friends. And she was really disappointed that she had to move home and had to start doing her work online. And she misses her friends. But one way that she's using her time is by teaching herself how to play the guitar. So I thought that was a neat thing that somebody thought to do, and a wise way to spend your time, teaching yourself to do something you haven't known how to do. Sue Ingalls called me yesterday, and we spoke on the phone, and she wanted me to send you all her thanks for the prayers that you've made for Mike and Sue. She suffers from a CVID, and it is an immune disease, and she basically has no immune system that works for her. So she has actually been homebound longer than the rest of us, and she hasn't been able to get out except to go for her blood transfusions that she has every 3 weeks. And she wanted to thank you and tell you that she feels much better. She has a lot more strength and stamina. And she wanted to thank you too for the prayers that you said for their family. They'd shared with us a few weeks ago that their son, daughter-in-law, and their 2 little grandchildren had some evidence or symptoms of COVID-19, and they were concerned about that. But she wanted you to all know that they're all feeling well, and they had time to Skype or FaceTime with each other, and their 4-year-old grandson sang them a song he told them Daddy had written, and he sang to them, and the words were, "Jesus will heal you, he will make you better." And I thought that was a terrific thing. She said it just made them feel terrific, and how wonderful that their son is teaching them, and their daughter-in-law too, that the little boy and girl, that Jesus is there for them. And there's a mom and a son here in our church family that was playing a version of Ding Dong Ditch. And if you're not familiar with that from back in the day, you ring someone's doorbell and then you run, except their version of it is to leave a nice gift on the step of someone. And they did that for many people in our church family yesterday, hoping to brighten the days of many that live alone. And one of our friends, Mary Boyce, called and told me that they had been to her house, and she had recently been very hungry for a type of cookie. And as it turned out, this game that mom and son played actually left her the type of cookie that she'd been craving, and she was just really tickled about that. It's the small things that really can light up our days if we take the time and slow down and pay attention. So after that all happened, Beatrice called me and said that she was absolutely thrilled with the church family's attention they'd been giving her. She'd gotten cards and phone calls, people asking her if she needed anything and how she was doing, because her grandchildren haven't been able to come and see her, and she does live alone. And she said it just has warmed her heart how much people in the church family have reached out to her. So thank you all for that. And our last story is about Leona Bridges. She had a birthday last Saturday, and it was a dreary day. And as many of you remember, Phil passed away on her birthday a year ago. So we knew this was going to be a difficult day for her. It was the 1-year anniversary of his death. And Tara Vermillion had the idea to gather out here in the parking lot on Saturday morning. There were almost 24 vehicles out here, and we drove by Leona's house. She had kind of tricked her to come outside in the rain, and we drove by, honked, we had windows down, we were singing happy birthday. People had made signs, and there were balloons and streamers, and our friends Bob and Alice Thomas, they had this inflated cake in the back bed of their pickup truck that had bright colored candles on top. They had it inflated, and they led the pack that went by her house, and it was great fun and a great encouragement to her. And it made the rest of us feel really good too on that dreary, rainy day when we've all had to be in and away from each other. Leona said to me that it made my day and many more than just one day, she said. I know she's going to have great memories of that day. So as I have shared these sweet little stories with you, I hope that you've had a sweet warmth in your heart thinking about your friends here at church and some of the ways that we can really appreciate the time that we've had to slow down. And I hope that you'll take a moment if something happens this week that makes you smile or laugh, that you will email me or call me and let me know what that is, and maybe we'll be able to share it next week. And in closing, I just want to show you this cute little guy because he's our grandson and he turns 2 at the end of the month. Sadly, he lives far away in Colorado Springs, but we thought the blue glasses and the hat and all were pretty fun. So be well, friends. Take care of yourselves. And if you have any prayer concerns or praises, just let us know. And we'll be praying for you, but we're also praising God in all that he does for us. And may we take this time to think about him and the blessings he gives us, the big and the small. Thank you.